Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. The Be Fulfilled Journal helps you be more honest with yourself and with others and be more open to handling things you've avoided dealing with for years. It's a 12-week online and journal program that helps you identify and eliminate things you do that are causing you stress and live in more gratitude and joy. It was actually developed by a long-term friend of mine who got sober in 2008, and he's put together a great deal just for my listeners. You get the 300-page hardcover journal and access to the 12-week video program online, plus free shipping, plus membership in a private Facebook support group with others going through the program, plus a 5-day mini course showing you how to let go of stuff that's draining your energy, plus a 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. To start your journey and get all the bonuses, go to BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. That's BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. We've got a great, interesting player today with Dave Cavalier. He's the vocalist and the rhythm guitar player for a band named Black Lung out of Baltimore. Very cool band, and I'm glad we're going to get to know them today. They evolved out of the origins of another band that I was familiar with, and we'll talk about all this. Anyway, Dave has played at the Warped Tour, the Virgin Islands Tour with Miss Sarah. He's also played with Angelo Moore and Norwood of Fishbone. He opened for Fishbone, and they played with HR from Bad Brains. Also opened for Real Big Fish, Catch-22, Streetlight Manifesto. He actually also claim to fame, he ran sound for Oriente at Best Buy one time. Yeah. He's had 4 and soon to be 5 European tours with Black Lung. They just came back from an Australian tour with a band called War on Women. Sorry about that. We'll talk about that band. And that was a festival with Slayer, Anthrax, Judas Priest, and Converge. And they also did another Australian tour opening for Converge. Or is that Converge? Am I saying that wrong?
Yeah, Converge.
It's Converge, yeah. Yep. That's what happens when an old guy gets a new band's name. Sorry, man. I should have got one of my kids in here and asked them first. He's got endless local bands and projects that he's involved with up in the Baltimore area. He hosted a jazz jam session for many years in Baltimore with amazing performers. And Dave says Baltimore actually has loads of excellent musicians. He also played with Kevin Walker, JT Bass. What is it?
Justin
Timberlake, bass player. Wow, check that out. And he's been a private instructor for both drums and guitar. So, man, let's start off. And thanks for coming on the show, Dave. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Talk about how Black Lung came together, because I know the other guitar player and the drummer both came from one of my favorite bands, the Flying Eyes. So talk about how that all worked out.
Yeah, man. The Flying Eyes are dope. We all live in the same neighborhood here. We all live in a place called Hamden in Baltimore. And a lot of my bands would basically oftentimes be on the same bill as the Flying Eyes. So cool. We got to know each other just opening for each other, basically. And there was just a moment there where, the Flying Eyes have toured pretty hard throughout their career. And I think they just needed a little break. And so they took a little hiatus. And I had a moment where my bands weren't really doing a whole lot. And, I'm the type that I always have instruments set up in my basement. I try to make sure it's a jam friendly zone at all times. And so Elias and Adam just came over a couple times, and they had seen me play with a band called White Bear, where I played guitar and sang, and there was a drummer, and it was just like a duo. And it just kind of happened really organically. They just kind of came over. We started playing. Didn't think we were going to write any songs, but we ended up writing some songs, just as it naturally happens. And man, our friend Noel Mueller and Phil Docolo had just started a record label called Grimoire Records, which is really a metal label, It sounds like a metal. Yeah. And, they didn't even have anybody signed yet. They were just if you want to sign with us, we'll record you for free. And we were like, yeah, sure. We had never even heard ourselves, we had never even listened back to these songs. So that's the first record.
The first record is great, man.
Thank you. But yeah, that's how the first one came about. You know, it was just a free, like, just our friends started this small label, and we listened back to it, and we were like, damn, we actually like sound like a band. This is pretty good. So, you know, they have a lot of connections, the Flying Eyes in Europe. So we sent it to those guys, and they liked it, and we were on our way.
Very cool. And everybody listening, check out the first record is called Black Lung. It's a great record. I love the Ghost, What It Takes song. There's some really good tracks on there, man. Really enjoyable.
Thanks,
let me describe the music. And I hate to, why don't you describe your own music? Cause I'm going to, well, I mean, what everybody, you know, cause to me, it's like stoner / psychedelic rock pretty much, but
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. You know, we get lumped in with like, you know, doom and stoner rock a lot of the times, but, you know, Adam's playing, really takes it into a psych rock feel.
Definitely.
A lot of times, you know,
I wouldn't put you with doom at all, actually.
Yeah. That's where we get put. I don't know. That's like,
weird.
I think maybe just doom and stoner, they just like, you know, a lot of people think they're two sides of the same coin, but it's really a kind of a different, there's elements of it, but it's not. Yeah. We are kind of self-described as like stoner rock, psych rock kind of thing.
It's the beard, man.
Yeah.
That's why they're putting you there. Anybody listening, if you have beard products and you're looking for a rock and roll dude, this is your man right here, Dave Cavalier from Black Lung.
Full on beard all the time. Yeah.
Full on beard, yeah, man. That's a very impressive beard, man. Man, so you drum and you play guitar, but your voice is fucking great, man. I mean,
thanks, man.
Did you take vocal lessons, or is that just, you know, natural?
No lessons, natural. I mean, I'm surrounded by like really great singers in Baltimore. There are some fucking great. Sorry, can I cuss on here?
You could do whatever you want. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks. yeah, but
please do.
There are some great singers in Baltimore. Like the band I play with, Miss Sarah, the one that did like the Virgin Islands tour. She's an amazing singer. I try to just like get as many tips and like poke and prod her for stuff as often as I can. But yeah, man, it's just, you know, something that I've always kind of known that I can also do. But it didn't come until way later. You know, I played drums for the first like 10 years of my musical career, basically. And then guitar came along, and then singing came along.
It's always amazing to me, like when I hear some, like you have a, you know, pretty deep, you know, guy's voice. Mm-hmm. And then when you sing, it's not falsetto or anything like that, but it's so smooth, man. It's almost like you, I don't know, like you're, I don't know, running it through a compressor, which I know you're not, but I mean, it's just amazing. It's always blows my mind when I hear guys that can do that. Yeah. Yeah. I
mean, my whole scheme is basically like, I start, when I'm thinking about like vocal melodies for any Black Lung song, is basically like crowbarring soul singing into heavy music.
That's what it's like. You have like a soul singing voice. So that,
those are all my main influences, man. It's like Otis Redding and like BB King and like, you know, all those guys like Aretha Franklin. Like I love soul singers to death. And, you know, to me, that's kind of how I hear it. I mean, when I listen to Led Zeppelin or if I listen to Black Sabbath, like I hear the blues and I hear soul and I hear like, you know, that they're so closely related in rock and roll. It all comes from the same place, you know, it all stems from the same place. So it kind of makes sense to me to start there and then kind of, you know, wedge it in and make it fit with the genre.
Yeah, whatever you're doing, it's great, man. It really sounds good. Talk about, I think you told me there was a funny story when you guys played the Warped Tour, and talk about the tour itself, where it is, and then, you know, talk about your story and how that fits in.
Yeah, so, you know, Warped Tour, I think that it's over as of last year. You know, I think they did the last one, and they're going to do like a reunion thing. But I think last year was like the last official Warped Tour. Mm-hmm. And War on Women, one of the bands that I played drums for, actually did the full 2 months with them last year. But I was not in the band for that. I just joined them recently. But when I did play Warped Tour, I did it with a band called Joe Keys and the Late Bloomer Band. And basically, Warped Tour is crazy, man. It's a crazy idea. It's a festival that plays every day in a different city. So you're just like a traveling circus. It's insane. Like it's a ton of buses, you know, straight up tour buses, and a ton of bands, you know, and you know, everything from big headliners down to like kind of smaller bands. And it's just a crazy idea. It's a crazy thing to do, but they did it for a really long time, and it's been awesome for a long time. So basically, Angelo Moore of Fishbone was doing Warped Tour, but he was kind of doing it in like a guerrilla type of way, where he would just bounce around, and wherever there was like any sort of PA, he would just plug in his like laptop and do backing tracks, and he would do his side project which is Dr. Mad Vibe, right? So he wasn't doing Fishbone stuff; he was just doing his own stuff. And so the guy that I was going with, Joe, who is like a 58-year-old dude who has lived in New York and LA and just all over the place. He's in with the P-Funk family. He's in with Fishbone. Angelo asked him to come be his backing band for Warped Tour.
Oh, cool. Right?
So that's how we got in there. So we did New York, New Jersey, and we did Merriweather in Maryland.
So which is nice for you. None of those are really far at all.
Right. Yeah, it's a pretty easy commute. Yeah. But the funny story comes when we pulled up to the gate and we were like, hey, we're Joe Keys and the Late Bloomer Band. We're here to be the backing band for Angelo Moore. And they were like, yeah, you're not on the list. We don't have anything for you. Like, you're not supposed to be here. We were like, what do you mean, man? And they were like, yeah. You can't come in. You can't play. We had just driven to New York and like slept in a basement, like on a sweaty floor. And for them to, and they're like, and also this is a big band. It's like an 8-piece, And so there's like 8 dudes in a van and a merch girl sweating. It's like the sweaty hot summer. The van has no AC, and they're like, yeah, you're not supposed to be here. So Joe gets out, somehow finds the like manager of Warped Tour. I don't even know who that is. Like whoever is like in charge of the whole thing, disappears for like 2 hours, has a conversation with him, and comes back. And they're like, okay, we found a stage for you. You're going to play, like, this stage is supposed to end at 8:30. Like, you're going to play at 8:45. Like, you're just going to throw you on this last stage. The sound guy's pissed. The crew is, they're like, why is this band here? But it ended up being okay. We ended up like, having a crowd and winning, and it was fine. But that happened in every city. Everywhere we went, they were like, you're not supposed to be here. You're not on the list.
Why didn't this guy just add you to the list?
Yeah, because that's the way these things go down, man. It's like what I have learned in this industry is that no matter what level you are on, I don't care if you're with Beyonce, nothing goes smooth. Like nothing, like even if you like everything's running great and like everything is super professional, there is something that is going to go wrong. And you just got to like go with the flow. Like we could have been like, okay, we're going home. They said we're not supposed to be here. And instead, Joe got out, found, and made something happen. You got to be a doer and you got to be ambitious. Because, for whatever reason, it fell through the cracks. Probably because Angelo was doing it in such a guerrilla way where he was just kind of bouncing around and he was kind of like an add-on.
He probably didn't.
Like, hey, come on, be my band, whatever.
Yeah, he probably knew that there was nothing there, but he just figured he would, just be my band, whatever. We'll make it work. The same mindset you guys have. He was
like, Joe worked something out. And it's not like Joe's got money or anything. It's not like he greased him. Like he just talked him into it. You know what I mean?
That's really cool.
I don't know, man. Yeah, it's a crazy industry to be in, but stuff like that happens all the time.
I think I've been a business owner for a little over 20 years. And I think that's just the nature of business in general. You run into stuff. The thing is, I think a lot of players I talk to don't necessarily look at themselves that we're in a business. They look at themselves, I'm a musician, but you're a self-employed entrepreneur. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that shit happens all the time. I think in every business, you're always like, oh my God, how did this happen? And you're constantly, I always say one of the biggest strengths of being successful in business is your adaptability to change, man, because it's daily. But that's a cool story, man. Thank you. Yeah, man. A band is a small business, whether you like it or not. A lot of people get stuck in the mindset of like, I do this for the art and like I'm not concerned with money. And it's like, well, that's great, but like you have to consider money at some point. If you want, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got bills to pay. You want to pay the rent when you're not on tour. It's like you need to get paid when you're on tour. You need to know your value and you need to know how it works, or else people are going to take advantage of you. How did you let's talk about this for a little bit, because I got everybody that listens to this not everybody, but 75% of my listeners play music in some capacity, whether it's full-time or part-time. How did you come up with like knowing your value? Not necessarily like numbers, but what do you try to figure out as a basis so that you feel you're being treated fairly?
Yeah, I think it's such an important question. And this is something I think about all the time. And I think it's a 2-part thing. I think the first thing is that like transparency, transparency is really important. And whatever band you're playing with, whether you're like a hired gun or whether it's your own personal band, you need to know how much money's being made and where the money's going. You know what I'm saying? So like at the very beginning of whatever tour, whatever agreement you sign up for, you need to just know how much are we getting paid for this gig? How much is this gig? How much is the plane ticket? How much is the backline rental, the van rental, the hotel room? You know what I'm saying? Like money goes all over the place, and it's just important to know. And so when the tour's over and somebody hands you, $100 and they're like, sorry, that's all there is, you're like, is it though? Cause like, where did it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I try to surround myself with like good people who I trust. And I think I do a good job at that. But I would definitely list that as like the top priority is just like transparency. Just know what's going on and don't be afraid to talk about money. Like, don't be afraid to ask. It's a really tough thing because this is the second part is that bands, musicians do not talk about money ever. It's such a weird thing to ask, how much did you get paid for that gig? How much did your band make on that festival? Like how much of a cut do you get from the record label when you sell a bunch of albums, So it's got to stop being this like taboo thing. If everyone talks about how much money they're making, then we can maybe like have a standard for, what's a normal standard for a musician to get paid, in a different situation. Are you a hired gun? Is it your band? Are you hiring other people? Are you playing a charity gig? Are you playing a tour opening for somebody? Are you direct support? Are you a headliner? Like there's a lot of different situations. And, I don't know. I think there just needs to be a more open dialogue about it.
I think you're right. I think if there was a more open dialogue, then this thing would. It's funny. I'm watching this documentary about how New York City came about, and they were talking about how they had these sweatshops basically in the early 1900s that where little kids would be working, and there was none of exactly the same thing what you're talking about. They paid them like shit and nobody talked about anything. Well, all of a sudden they had people that were marching and talking about this. Hey man, we need better rights. We need more money. And it was a lot of resistance, but that caused everybody to start talking about it. And then it became, more like, and that's how it evolved to, okay, they ultimately got unions, they got standards, minimum wages and stuff like that. And I think you're right. I think, when things are sort of taboo and, shh, don't talk about, but when they're out in the open and they become, then things get fair. There's a chance to get fair. That's great. Yeah. And I like what you said too. You have, I think you have the right to ask all those questions, and I think people will give you the information. What does the backline cost? But if you don't ask, they're certainly not.
Exactly. They're happy to take advantage of you if they know that you're not going to ask otherwise, because why wouldn't they?
Right. Absolutely, man. I think this is real. Thank you, man. I hope everybody listening gets some, that's really great answer. Thanks, man. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one question that like you probably get asked a lot. I'm sorry. I try not to ask. The smoke, man.
Mm-hmm.
The black, that's like so freaking cool. Where did that come from, man? I know it's like the black lung thing, but that's like, where did that come from? You fit it into every cover. Like, it's just like cool looking.
Yeah. Yeah. We just like, we started, I'll say this, Adam and Elias learned a lot from their time in the Flying Eyes. They started that band when they were like in high school.
I'm
Adam and Elias have been,
I'm shocked because that was a great band. I couldn't believe how young these guys were then.
Oh, it's insane. Yeah. I mean, Adam and Elias, the funny thing about Adam and Elias is that they're each other's first friends. Like Adam moved to this country from Sweden.
Oh, that's
Elias
great.
Elias was one of the first people that he met, and they started playing music together and they started, coming up. So like, the Flying Eyes was like their first band, which is crazy because nobody's first band is as successful.
No,
as they were,
that's really
it's
very
nuts.
rare.
So, they've been through it and they learned a lot. And one of the main things that they learned is that, being in a band, and this goes for America too, but especially overseas, like image is so important. And everything being really consistent is really important. So all we knew about the band when we first started it was like, all of our pictures are going to be in black and white and everything is going to have this kind of like stark imagery to it. Like, we're not going to use exclamation points on social media. ever. It's never going to be like, come see our show. You know, it's going to be like, you know, like,
but wait, there's
like
more.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Little things like that I kind of thought were like silly at first, like make such a difference, you know? And when it came time for a label to look at our stuff, you know, they looked at it and it was like, okay, you guys look like a band, you know, just because of a few simple rules, you know? So we just choose like imagery and, you know, names, like song names, album names, whatever. Like it's all pretty carefully, it's all very intentional, you know, like, then that goes for the smoke also. It's just like, it's just meant to fit with one image so that when you think Black Lung, basically just like one thing pops into your head. Yeah. And it's not this like scattered idea.
Let me ask you a question. Everything you're saying really makes a lot of sense, and intention is everything. And like for people listening, think, well, you're putting too much thought into that. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think you're putting thought into something that's helping you create something that's going to become successful.
Yeah. Well, we're doing it because there's no one else to do it for us. Like maybe back in the day, you would have had a great band and you would have got signed to a label and they would have said, okay, let's take some photos. Let's, you know, do some graphic design. Let's like put some production into this. But that is not the way anymore.
Absolutely.
You know, every band has to do it for themselves. So we are our own manager. Like we take, you know, we schedule photo shoots. We come up with the concepts for everything because that's the way it is. You know, you have to do it by yourself. Now,
and not doing it means it doesn't get done. And if it doesn't get done, is no value and you get overlooked. That's the simple truth of it, man.
Yeah, straight up.
Where did you guys, so it sounds like to me, either you or everybody has some collective business experience and, you know, pretty ambitious, which is great. Where did like all that come from?
I think, I don't know, man. It's just like, Baltimore can be a tough town. I don't know about other places, but this can be a tough place and you really got to make it on your own, you know? I mean, like I'm either bartending, teaching, or playing gigs.
Right.
And I kind of have to set my life up in a way where I can stop everything and go on tour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Adam owns his own kombucha company. You know?
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And they're thriving and they're, you know, popping off. Like, you know, Elias involves himself with as many things as he possibly can. You know, it's just like a band of doers. And I don't know, man, maybe I just like, that's the kind of people that I like to surround myself with. It's just like ambitious people who like to get shit done.
Yeah.
But it translates well in a band because it means like everyone's on time and everyone, you know, sees the value in rehearsal.
Yeah.
And everyone, you know what I mean? Like,
yes, I do know exactly what you mean. And it's those little things that you make habitual that, you know, people think I've been running a business and various things for 20 something years and it's never one thing. It's more like 10 little things consistently done that eventually allow you to get to the next level and then the next level. And the same thing. It's never just like, wow, I did this. And all of a sudden, you know, we got this record contract. That's not really how it works. Or I did this and I got these big clients. That's not
absolutely
really
not.
how
No,
it works.
No, it's a slow climb.
Yeah, a series. It's funny because I was talking with somebody and they said to me like about the show, they said, hey, which artist or player did you have on that really like made the show jump? And I said, man, I wish I could tell you, but nobody. I've had major guys on here and no one person has ever like, and I try not to have expectations, but sometimes I'll have someone like, oh man, that's really going to have an impact. And I have now I never say a thing because I know it's slow, steady growth. It's just the consistency of doing it. And you keep doing it enough. And then it, you know, and in some months are higher than others, but it's not going to be one thing. I mean, it has been so far. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah. But congratulations, man. You guys seem like you have a great attitude, especially for a young band and young guys. You know, now I sound like, you know, old man, but I am compared to you guys. You have,
it's funny. It's like young, but seasoned. You know what I'm saying? That's like I'm 32. But like, I've been playing music for 22 years.
That's amazing,
you know what I mean?
Man.
So it's like,
fuck, that's awesome.
We've been out here, man. Yeah. Like you say the same thing for the Flying Eyes. Like those guys had done like several European tours in their like early to mid 20s.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, once you're just like in there, you just say, you start to learn. So it's like, whether you're young or not, you just get like hardened like really quick.
Man, well, good, but congratulations and good for you, because sometimes people have 20 years of experience, but it's 1 year of experience 20 times.
Yes.
You guys sound like you've actually grown and learned a lot. And then most important and most difficult, gone back and executed. So congratulations, man.
Thanks, man.
You guys did 3 albums in the last 5 years, which is incredibly ambitious. What have you learned with each successive recording?
Well, like I was saying with the first one, is like we just kind of did it, and it was just kind of like quick, and we didn't think about it too much, and it was just like very natural, very organic. Didn't take a lot of time with mixing and mastering, just kind of like knocked it out. Didn't I mean it was recorded in like again like a kind of guerrilla way. Like Noel brought his mobile studio to, like, we recorded it at UMBC, but like not using like UMBC's like we used their studio, like their room, but like Noel brought his own laptop.
What's UMBC?
UMBC is University of Maryland, Baltimore College.
Okay.
Something like that. But it's college in Baltimore.
Yep.
And yeah, it's where Adam studied, our guitarist.
Yep.
And he studied audio engineering there, so he had access to the studio.
Okay.
So we went in there and used their room. But yeah, Noel like brought his laptop and his mics. And yeah, man, we just didn't think too much about it. We were just like, let's just hope these songs are good. And I think, it came out great. And so then the second album, we were like, okay, let's think about it a little more, basically, since the first one was so like off the cuff. Like, we were like, okay, let's get an actual studio that, and let's have Jay Robbins record it and produce it, who's the bass player from Jawbreaker. Mm-hmm. And who is dope and a really nice guy and a great producer. And then, after that, this most recent one, I think we wanted to kind of find the middle ground in those two situations. It was like, we want it to be heavy. We want good production. Like, we want to take our time with it. But at the same time, we just want it to be like really clear, and we want the songs to come across. Like, we don't want the vocals to be buried in like heavy, muddy, fuzzed out guitars, but we do want heavy, fuzzed out guitars. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's just like a balancing act. I think every time you're kind of looking for something different with each album, but hopefully they grow and they get a little better.
Well, man, the last album, there's 8 songs on it. And like, for me, 6 of them were like 5 stars on my iTunes. A really great, very well done record, man. I thought it was really cool, really kick ass.
Thanks, man.
Let's talk about that record. So the last album is called Ancients. Musically, like I said, it's just right up my alley. I'm a blues, a psychedelic rock guy. That's what I listen to. Mm-hmm. You had a song in there called The Seeker, and you had this lyric, telling the truth shouldn't be so hard. What's the backstory there, man? Who got burned?
I got burned, man. Yeah. So that song is about Joe Keys, the guy that I was talking about, the dude that got us into Warped Tour and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, it kind of comes full circle. Joe's like one of my best friends, and he's a dude who has been sober for a little over 2 years now. But when I was in a band with him, he was not sober. And it was troublesome, to say the least. Yeah. It's a struggle. And we stuck in there for a long time, but I ended up quitting just because of, all the bullshit that comes with
addiction,
being in a band with a person who who struggles with addiction. Yeah. And especially when that person is the band leader, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it kind of all falls on them. We started the band together also. Like, this came out of one of the jam sessions that I was hosting. And, again, very organically, he showed up at a jam session. He just started most people call like jazz standards at a jam session. Hey, let's play Red Clay. Let's play, whatever. He was just like, all right, bass player, give me like a dun 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 dun, guitarist, give me like a started like mouthing stuff. But he was really good at it, like kind of brilliant at it, and just making these super hard grooves. And he said he wanted to do a show, and he wanted the house band to be his band, and that was like how it started. So, at that time we didn't know each other at all. Fast forward like 7 years down the road, and that's where we are right now. So basically that song is about him. That song is about me struggling with him, like our relationship going through ups and downs, me asking him, hey man, why aren't you at this gig?
Right.
Where are you? You're supposed to be here right now. And me being fed a lie. Oh, I'll be there in 5 minutes. I'm right around the corner. I'll be, just nowhere to be found. That's telling the truth shouldn't be so hard.
Good for you, man.
Just tell me that you are fucking high out of your mind right now.
Yeah, right.
And then I can tell these people that we're not playing.
Right.
Just tell me the truth,
I know.
But it is hard. Yeah, it shouldn't be that hard, but it is hard. It's a really, really tough thing. And I'm really proud of him that he's been sober for as long as he has been, man, because it's hard.
Yeah,
it's
it is
really,
hard.
really hard to be a musician and to be in that world. And drugs and alcohol are everywhere.
Yeah. I
mean, everywhere you go. And all people want to do is get you high. Right? That's like a really, I smoke weed. I have no problem with it, but I'm saying like people, it's just like a generous thing that they want to do. They want to pull you and say, hey man, here's a bag. Hey, like, let's go in the back. Let me, I really enjoyed the set. Like, let's go get stoned or whatever. And, and obviously it's things with a lot harder than weed sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And,
well, I don't think
tough,
weed's even
really
addictive, man.
No, it's
not physiologically anyway.
No, it's not. It's the stuff that, it's everything else.
Yeah. Next level shit. Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, weed was never his problem, but yeah, I'm just saying it's tough. It's really tough to be a musician and to be sober at the same time. And so like he's turned a huge corner, and it's been really great for him and us.
Props to Joe Keys for that, man. I'm very sympathetic to addiction. I've had so many guys come on the show and talk about getting sober. And then what's been really cool is I've had so much email come in and say, hey, I really like this episode with so-and-so. I'm struggling right now. And I felt like comfortable knowing that other people, especially someone like that. And I wound up, because we put these on YouTube as well, the audio, I had so many people, I wound up creating a separate playlist just for guys that have gotten sober. And so people can go and just say, okay, I want to listen to the sober stories, So man, I'm really sympathetic.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny what you said. I was talking to someone last week and they were telling me they used to be in a band with somebody that was a mess and is now sober. And he called up the guy's wife and he goes, hey, how come I got the shitty Joe when I was in it, when we were together, Yeah. So I
know the guy's in his band right now.
Feeling you on that.
It's like, oh man, you guys don't have any idea, man. Like he's like showing up on time and like writing really good songs and, booking shows and nothing dodgy's going on with the money. You know, it's like, yeah, you guys got it easy. You have no idea. Yeah.
Well, good for him, man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then you got another song on Ancients called Vultures. It's the 7th, next to last song, which always is the best song. Historically, even, that's always the best song. Great climax in there. And like for me, when I'm listening to music, that's like the addictive part to me. I love when the band takes me on a ride and takes me up and down through various climaxes. What's the story with that song? Anything in particular?
It's weird, man. It's an outlier. It doesn't sound like other things that we do, It's got elements of it, but it has elements of it. Weird song. Yeah, I wrote that one on acoustic guitar, which is almost never the case with our music. It's usually me sitting down with a big muff pedal and just seeing what riffs come out or whatever. But yeah, this one was written on acoustic, and I kind of brought it, and I think I was feeling like a little insecure about it, and I was like, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't do this one. And I think Elias was like, no, we should do this. That's like a good one. We got to follow through with that, And, the song is about, it's very much about like being a musician, living the life of a musician, and it being a very strange and unusual life path and life choice, like it's kind of cliche to be like, I feel like I don't fit in and I feel like, whatever. As a musician, man, it's like we do crazy stuff. We do weird shit all the time. We'll drive to New York and make no money and play for 10 people and sleep on the floor and then, come back home the next day. And why? For what? Like, why did we do that? That shit happens all the time, all the time, And I can't say it enough. We just do really weird stuff. It's a weird life choice. The highs are really high and the lows are really low.
Yes.
I think that's kind of what that song is about, because when the big payoff comes, man, when you're standing in front of 2,000 people and you're playing original music and they're singing along the lyrics to your work, it's like,
that's amazing, right?
But you had to play so many basements and so many dead nothing shows and, take off work. It's like, I'm a bartender. So like for me to play a show on a weeknight,
it's costing you money.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I'm not going to make any money. I know that, cause it's original music and it's my band. Like who's going to pay me but me? Right. And it means I got to like not bartend for the night and play in front of maybe like 5 people. I don't know. Yeah. That is too common of a story. And, I don't know. That's what I think about when I play that song.
Very cool, man. Do you know the band Blackberry Smoke?
No, I don't think I do.
They're like, I don't say a jam band, but they're kind of like in the Allman Brothers, Government Mules sort of genre. Anyway, they're real successful. And I interviewed both of the guitar players there. And one of them was telling me a story where they went out to like, I don't know, fucking New Mexico or somewhere like way out in the western part of the country, and they pulled this bar for the gig and they played to nobody's there. Like literally nobody's there, and they're happy to play. They're setting up all their shit for nobody, and then the bartender or the club owner who was also the bartender, he just gave them the money and let them go. He paid them for the night. There was literally no one, and now they sell out arenas.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think like the comedian John Oliver, like last week tonight with John Oliver.
No, but my son has told me about him. My son is around your age. Just told me about him, so I know from him.
So he's he hosts a show on HBO right now, but like he tells this story about how he was doing stand-up comedy back in London, and there's 5 people in the room. They're all sitting down. Halfway through the show, 2 people get up, and then the third person gets up, and then the last 2 walk out. So it's just him and the sound man, and he's still got 10 minutes left. And the sound guy's like, "Do you want to keep going?" And he's like, "No, like it's over. it's over, man." And then it's like fast forward 5 years or whatever, and he's hosting a show on HBO. So it's like, you got to get humbled sometimes, right?
You got to hang in there, man. You got to fucking hang in there if you believe.
They're not all going to be home runs. They're going to suck.
Yeah.
Sometimes that goes for even the European tours, man. It's like we don't know. It's like hopefully, we play shows sometimes where like 300 people come out, and then we play shows sometimes where like 20 people come out.
Yeah.
Because we're still growing as a band and we're playing new cities and new towns, and I would like to say that we're the most successful band ever, and like we sell out every show, but it's not the case, dude. It's like so many bands are on the road just like struggling and just hoping that people show up a lot of the time. I think this one will be really good. I am excited. I'm optimistic about this tour.
The European tour coming up.
The European tour coming up for Black Lung. Yeah,
that's great. Well, I hope you guys are a great band. I hope it works for you. You play drums and guitar. Do you consider yourself either of those first? I'm a drummer for sure. First, interesting.
I've been playing drums since I was 10 years old. And when I went to college, I started living in a dorm or like apartment complex. Like basically just like a small place, and I couldn't have the drum set. It was too loud,
wow.
It was too much, and I needed an instrument with a volume knob. And I knew that my cousin had this Mexican Strat, which I didn't even know what that meant at the time.
Sure.
But it was like missing some strings and like needed a little love. But like, I got a lot of friends that like to work on guitars and stuff. So they were like, yeah, we can make this thing work, And so that was it, man. I had a shitty like line 6, sounded terrible. And, this Mexican Strat. And I just started annoying my roommates and trying to learn like little BB King licks. And that's how it all started.
That's amazing. Are you the primary writer for Black Lung?
Yeah, it's pretty collaborative, but I would say that like I usually like bring it's either Adam or I, but I'll usually like start it off, and Adam and Elias are really good at finishing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But yeah, man, drums first. I've been playing drums for as long as I can remember. Guitar came later.
That's very cool. Did you study music in school?
I studied in high school. I did like took every possible music course that I could. So like marching band, pit orchestra, percussion ensemble, symphonic, like jazz band, all that stuff. But once I got into college, I I studied audio. That's what my degree is in. I have a bachelor's of science in audio production. So like
that's great.
Music.
That's really good.
But I kind of was faced with a decision where I was like, okay, I'm either going to like study performance or I'm going to like kind of have enough confidence in my ability that I want to learn something new, you know, like I'm self-taught all the way through basically.
Sure.
Like all that stuff none of it was drum set. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In high school, like a drum set was 100% me in the basement, but all that stuff is like, you know, snare drum and rudiments and like learning how to read music and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, when it comes to just like sitting down and playing drums, like that's just kind of me in the basement. So, when I got to college, I was like, I think I want to learn something in the music realm, but not necessarily furthering like my personal performance.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think you probably did a good career move there also, and unknowingly, and not even for that reason, but you know, you have a pretty big horizon now.
Yeah.
Big palette.
And I went up to Berkeley, you know, I went up and checked it out. I had a couple friends who were going to school there. That was an option for me at a time. I thought I was going to go there. And then, you know, it's $40,000 a year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
To go there.
Yeah.
What the hell, man? And what, you're going to be a musician and come out and do that when you're done?
It's kind of ironic that it's like what musician can afford to pay for their education at Berkeley anyway?
Thousands of dollars. Like, no way, man. Like, so yeah, you know, I could have gotten a couple scholarships or whatever, but it still would have just been like a crippling debt. Yeah. So I went to Towson, which is in Maryland. Got that in-state tuition.
I was to say, it's a good school, Towson.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real good school.
So, yeah, man, I just like, you know, it was just kind of like, how can I even do this? Like, can I survive?
Yeah.
You know, like, and go to college and come out like relatively unscathed.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the best option.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Baltimore then?
Yeah, I did.
What was your childhood like growing up there?
It's pretty normal, I guess. I mean, I like grew up in the suburbs, you know, a town called Reisterstown, which is like 25 minutes outside of Baltimore City.
Reisterstown?
Reisterstown.
Reicers. I'm like, wow, that's a Reisterstown. Okay.
Yeah, Reisterstown. Yeah, that's what they should call it.
I'm like, whoa, this is like Christian fundamentalist settlement or something.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Joe Keys always says something really funny. He's always like, the mothership landed in Reisterstown at some point. Because there's like all these great players that come out of there. It's so weird. It doesn't make any sense. You know, it's just a bunch of like, I don't know, normal suburban kids. I think it's because we're so bored, you know, like there's nothing to do in suburbia aside from like ride your bike, play basketball, or get together with your friends and play music.
I've heard that story literally dozens of times all over the country. Yeah. Guys, you know, sort of like white middle class suburbia and, yeah, it's the same. You know, they go skateboarding once in a while, maybe, or this and that, but ultimately, you know, there's nothing to do. So you find a garage and then there it goes.
Yep.
You know, and do the jams.
Yeah, that's it. So, yeah.
What kind of work did your folks do?
My dad is a mechanic and used to work in a factory that made like liquid medicines. And generally does like factory and warehouse work, you know, works on like large scale machines.
Yeah, that's cool.
And my mom is a accountant for the government. She works for the SSA, Social Security.
Oh man, I got to talk with her. No, I'm just kidding.
Time right now.
Yeah, right.
Taxes in.
Totally, man. Man, what were some of the lower points or the challenges you've had to deal with throughout life in general, and how'd you overcome them? And you could pick and choose whatever you want, musically, personally, business, whatever you float your boat, man. Yeah.
I mean, I think I would just say that, kind of touching on what we were talking on before, it's like being a musician is a tough choice to make. You know, it's like it's not always going to be good, and the highs are highs and the lows are lows. So like, you know, a tough spot for me is maybe like surrounding myself with really talented people and with really ambitious people, and seeing, you know, some of them like have great success, and, you know, telling myself like, don't be jealous. You know what I mean? Be happy for your friends that are going up there. But at the same time, I'm playing this show tonight for 5 people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's tough.
it'll beat you down. It'll beat you down over and over and over again. And it'll really make you want to quit. And, I was just on tour with Converge, opening for Converge as their support, and had a really good talk with the lead singer at the end of one of the shows, where we were talking about the difference between playing a festival, where maybe everyone is not necessarily there to see you, but they're going to see you, so you got to win them over, kind of thing.
Yeah,
or playing a club show, which that night was sold out, and they were all there to see Converge.
Right.
They knew every word to every song, like they were there to see them. And talking about a difference in energy, and basically what he had to say was like, it doesn't matter. And this is a dude that's been in this band for 20 years. It's been touring for 20 years. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's a crazy thing to do. But he was like, you got to make a choice, man. You're either an artist or you're a performer, and you can't have it both ways. So when he's like, I could be playing to 5 people. I could be playing to 1,000 people. It's going to be the same exact show. I'm going to put the same exact energy out. I'm going to put just as much intention and emotion into every word that I sing, because I'm an artist, and that's what it is to me. And, that kind of stuff really rings home with me, because like, I never really cared about playing shows that weren't big until it happened over and over and over and over and over again. And you get beat down to the point of you're just like, when am I going to turn a corner?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like my band or my playing is worth listening to. I feel like I can do the things that these other successful people do. When is something going to happen? You know what I mean? But you just have to be like relentless in your pursuit, because it takes so much time. It takes so much time.
Man, couple of things. First, thank you for sharing that. And I think a lot of musicians, every musician has that experience at some point in their career. Are you just curious? Are you guys super active on social media?
Like Black Lung?
Yeah.
Black Lung is like, I would say pretty calculated in our social media. Like not super active, but like when we're about to go on tour or when we're about to release an album or something like that's going on, I'm trying to post like once a day, once every other day.
Yeah.
But it's not like a constant conversation or anything, it's more just like, this is what's going on with us.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Because I'll tell you, my normal gig is I run a marketing company. I've been doing that for 20 years. And it's been my observation in working with like 300 clients, let's say, in 110 literally different industries over that time, that nowadays, and I have this conversation with musicians often. You ever heard of the band Crippled Black Phoenix?
No.
You'd like them because their music is in line with what you guys are doing. They're out of England, and it's just one guy basically, and he's got a band around him, but he's the main guy. His name is Justin Greaves, and man, he's put out like 15 albums over the last 20 years. Great, right. I mean, just great production, great mastering, great mixing and engineering, great music. And he said, Craig, do you think we're not as popular? And he talked about on our interview, he goes, man, I got all these records. I'm barely making rent.
Right.
And he goes, do you think we're not popular because our music's too intelligent? I said, no, I don't think so. I said, your music is great. And I said, it's really accessible emotionally, in my opinion, for everybody. You don't need to be a fucking physics professor. I said, the reason I think, in my opinion, as an outsider looking in at a business perspective, you're the kind of guy, you have a bit of a punk ethos, which serves you well as a spirited musician. But in today's day and age, there is a certain template you have to fill. And part of that is you got to be more on social media. And he hates that. And I said, I get it, but you've got to engage more often than not, because that's how you build a fan base. I mean, I've interviewed people, and I wouldn't say names, but they're mental on social media. But, I don't even care for the stuff they're doing, but I look at their followers and it's 10 to 20 times the size of other people.
Sure.
And that translates into money. as painful as that is, you know.
Yeah.
So I unfortunately, I think social media is, I say unfortunately because that's not my thing either. Like I post pretty frequently on there, but it's not something I'm like, oh, I can't wait to post. Like I'm not walking around during my day thinking, oh, here's a fucking Instagram moment. You know, I'm like,
sure.
I'm like repelled.
And you have to, it's the kind of thing that like you have to use it and participate in it, or else you will not understand it, right?
Yes.
Like you can't just be like, okay, I'm going to start doing Facebook today. Like, I've never done it before. You will fail miserably because you will be tone deaf to.
That's a good way to put it. Tone deaf.
You'll be tone deaf to what the internet looks, sounds, and feels like.
Correct.
You know,
it's
got its own feel to it. And it's got, you know, little pockets of the internet have their own feel to it also. So if you're just going to decide, you know, Garth Brooks is a pretty great example of this, right? I don't know if you've noticed, but
no, I don't. Is he really active on social media?
Well, it's hilarious because he just started an Instagram and he's fucking horrible at it. It's so unnatural and it's so weird. And I don't know if you listen to the podcast, Your Mom's House. With,
who's that?
It's like Tom Segura and Christina Pazitsky. They're comedians. Huge podcast. But, you know, they just have like all these kind of inside jokes. And they just shit on him so hard. And now if you go to Garth Brooks's Instagram, the entire comment thread, I mean, literally, it's endless. Hundreds of comments are just inside jokes from this podcast.
Oh, really?
Just shitting on Garth Brooks. Just being like, where are the bodies at, Garth? You're a psycho, man. Like, we can see it in your eyes, you know? Just like, that's what happens when you're just like, oh, I think I'll just start to do social media one day. It's like, no, you actually like have to participate in it in order to understand it. And yeah, if you do, it's got great benefit. It really does. If you're really like engaged with your audience and, you know, you really understand how to use it and how to be genuine. That's really the most important thing, is to be genuine. Yeah. You know, and to come across as genuine and not take yourself too seriously.
100%.
That's the other thing.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. If you take yourself, nothing translates worse than taking yourself too seriously on the internet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It comes across as arrogance a little bit.
Totally arrogant and just like highfalutin and, you know, pretentious and all the things you don't want to be if you're in a band. Right. So yeah, man, you got to do it. You got to use it. War on Women, you know, my other band, they use it all the time. Yeah. But they're a super political band. It's a feminist hardcore band. They got something to say, you know, so it makes sense for them to use that as a megaphone.
It's a perfect platform. Talk about that band, because turn people onto them.
Yeah, War on Women is a band that they've been around for like 10 years. You know, I just joined up with this band a few months ago, but I just got back from Australia a few days ago. And that's the band that was touring with Converge. And we played these two huge festivals in Sydney and Melbourne, where the headliners were fucking Alice in Chains, Slayer, Anthrax, Judas Priest. It was going to be Ozzy, but he got pneumonia and he canceled all of his Australian dates.
Wow.
But
how was Alice in Chains? How did Alice in Chains sound?
They sounded pretty good, man. Yeah. I was happy. I was happy. I'll say that. I went in like a little skeptical.
Right.
Like, all right, we'll see, you know, but they sounded great.
Good.
I'll say, you know, Judas Priest was they crushed. Did
they really?
Oh my God. They killed so hard. Wow. They sound awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And, you know, these festivals are kind of like, you know, we only play for 30 minutes. Like our set, like all the bands basically play for 30 minutes. Judas got like 45 or 55, something like that.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. No more than an hour for sure. And it was a set of bangers, just straight bangers, you know? So that was really fun to watch. But yeah, man, it was nice to be welcomed by Australia because, you know, War on Women is a majority female, but co-ed feminist hardcore band. And all feminism means, for anyone that doesn't know, is advocating for the equality of the genders based on sex, right? Based on gender. That's all it means. It's equality, right? It doesn't mean women are better. It doesn't mean women hate men. It doesn't mean any of that. All it means is equality, advocating for equality of the genders, right? So it's not a tough message, right? It's not a tough sell.
No.
It's like just advocate for women's rights.
Sure.
Right? Not so hard. And then of course, you know, with that comes like a progressive message for, you know, advocating for the rights of people of color, advocating for gay rights, advocating for all this kind of stuff. And yeah, Australia, you know, they're they struggle with a lot of the same things that America do. We have a lot of parallels. The big thing being like they're indigenous people, and trying to get them some money, trying to maintain their culture, because like we did the same thing with our Native Americans here. And, at least over there, their prime minister like wrote them a letter of apology, and they are like, putting policy into place where like, they'll get some money.
That's great.
It's awesome. So
I think with the Native American Indians here, my understanding is that they traded away any kind of government support for, in theory, independence. Like the American government can't tell them how to run their reservations or anything, or in exchange they get no money. So I don't know how that gets fixed anyway, man. But I know there's some of the poorest, emotionally and financially poor regions of our country is on these reservations.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be real, like Americans don't really think about Native Americans day to day. It's not at the top of our social issues, right? Like we're thinking about a lot of other stuff right now. And it's kind of nice to see that it's kind of on the top of their list in Australia,
That's
but
cool.
they don't deal with, they're not as it's a diverse place, but it's not as diverse as here. We got people from everywhere here. So we, there's just like inherently other issues that come along with that. But yeah, so it's been pretty cool to go on tour and to be involved with a heavily political band, because I've never done that before. Most of my bands don't really wear their politics on their sleeves. It's like we all have politics, we have opinions, but we've always been so concerned with like our music being inclusive and not exclusive.
Yeah, they're secondary to the music, whatever your political or religious or any other opinions. Everything's second to the music.
Yeah, like I want a Republican to be able to rock out to Black Lung, generally. You know what I'm saying? But like, if you don't like gay people, then maybe I don't want you to be able to rock out to Black Lung. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's kind of turns the corner when you.
I hear you, man. It's man. You can't. It's hard to make everybody happy, no matter what you do, man. It's funny. Billy Gibbons, who's a staunch Republican, had I heard a story recently. His opening act, someone came out and he had like a "Make America Great Again" hat on, and Billy's smart enough to know. You don't see him running around talking about his politics, but he's smart enough to know, man, I don't exactly what you said. I don't need you to alienate half my audience that enjoys listening to me. So he pulled the guy off stage. Apparently this was like 3 or 4 months ago. I heard this. Yeah. So, it's just, there's too much divisive shit going on, man.
A lot of divisive shit going on right now. And, it doesn't have to be that way, and not every band needs to be political, but it goes back to being tone deaf, right? It's like if you go out in front of an audience and you're wearing a "Make America Great" hat again, somebody's going to get pissed off. You know what I'm saying?
Totally, absolutely.
At least somebody, right? So like if you're putting on a show,
half your audience for the most part,
right, exactly. So just like just be aware, just kind of be like self-aware of the moment. And if you're in a political band and people know that and they're coming to see you, like our lead singer, Shauna, like, I don't want to say like half the show, but I mean, in between songs, she makes her voice heard.
Well, if that's their whole platform, of course, it would be, she'd be doing her people a disservice not to.
Right.
Her audience that's what her audience wants. Yeah. Yeah. It's like I saw, I had interviewed Jeff Fielder, who plays guitar for Amy Ray. He used to play for Mark Lonigan from, brain fart. Why am I having? Mark Lonigan from Screaming.
Stone Temple Pilots.
No, Screaming. Oh man, Trees. It's not. It's something Trees. I'm having a brain fart. So he's playing for Amy Ray now, and it was funny. I saw them when they came down here, and most of the show, most of the audience was lesbians, but most of her banter was about being a lesbian and stuff like that. And like if she didn't do that, that is what all the audience members were. It was maybe 250 people in a small-ish club. They were there to connect on that. And she would have been doing them a disservice not to make comments and funny and otherwise. It was just that you have to talk to your audience, man, whatever that
Absolutely.
is,
Yeah. There's a moment where you kind of got to give the people what they want. And, a lot of people don't have a microphone. That's kind of the big thing. It's like they have social media, but they don't stand in front of 1,000 people,
totally.
And get to, speak their mind, speak their voice. And so when they see somebody else do that, it feels really great. It's a great payoff.
Yeah.
For them. I'll say this about War on Women, like the post-show stuff is very different from the post-show Black Lung stuff, So like when I get off stage with Black Lung, people might come up and, have some compliments or have some nice things to say. And it was a great show. Like, loved it. I want to get an album, blah, blah, blah. But after the War on Women show, like they will come up to Shauna and be like, I feel like you wrote that song for me.
Oh, wow.
You just like spoke you told my story, like you went right inside of my journal. You tore a page out and you wrote a song about it.
That's wild.
It's personal. It's like much more personal when you're in a band like that, which is cool. And I like both. I really do. I like both for different reasons.
Sure.
But it's been a really interesting, cool thing to experience,
Very cool, man. Yeah. Hey, let's talk about gear for a minute. What do you play guitar wise? Like, what's your number one?
So I play a Reverend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I endorse Reverend guitars. I'm endorsed by them. And,
very cool. Which model?
Yeah, it's a Manta Ray. So it's like a semi-hollow.
Yep.
And
it's a
P90s.
It's P90s. Okay.
P90s. Yeah. Rosewood. It's dope. I love it. It's my first guitar after my Mexican Strat that my cousin gave me. And I never looked back.
Very cool,
and
man.
It's been dope. So I play that, and I play an Airline DLX also.
How'd you get involved with an Airline? I don't even know if I've ever had anybody else say they play it. Maybe one other person.
Yeah, Airline. I love Airline, man. It's like they're cheap and they sound great. It's kind of my backup guitar.
Sure.
On the road, I don't worry if it falls down a flight of stairs. Like, it'll be fine. It's tough. And
that's funny.
And it sounds fucking good, man. Like I need like a road dog sometimes. I just need something that's kind of like a workhorse. And it's it sounds good, looks cool. One of our buddies, Laszlo. It's called Laszlo Lee and the Motherless Children.
Mm-hmm.
Dope band from Baltimore. They toured with the Flying Eyes once in Europe as an opening act. But yeah, he plays an Airline and it's a monster. I mean, it just sounds so huge and great on stage. So yeah, I just, I had the opportunity to grab one for kind of cheap and I did. I threw like some heavier gauge strings on it. It's got 11s on it right now, which is cool. And it's got a Bixby, which my other guitar doesn't have like a whammy at all. So it's kind of nice to have that option too.
Your Mexican Strat must have a whammy, no?
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I traded it in for the Reverend.
Oh, you swapped out the Mexican Strat.
Yeah.
For the, oh, okay.
Yeah, like traded up. Yeah. So I don't have that one anymore, unfortunately.
Was that was that tough to walk away from?
What's that?
Was it tough to walk away from that guitar?
Well, I was going to say, had I known that I would be playing guitar, 10 years later, I probably would have kept it. But I didn't think that. I thought it was a hobby at that point. I didn't think it was going to be anything like drums.
Yeah.
But now, looking back, it would have been really cool to keep it. But it's all good, man. I try not to get too attached to gear like that. Like I love my Reverend. Like I fucking love that guitar, and it feels like me every time I pick it up. Like I know it's like a part of my hand. But past that, it's like I play amps that I can replace if I need to. I play pedals that I can replace if I need to. You know what I'm saying? So totally. Like I play a Super Reverb right now. And then my backup amp is just a deluxe, Fender Deluxe.
Yep.
And, in Black Lung, it's kind of cool because we both play through bass amps as well.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. There's no bass player in the band. So does anybody play bass on the records or no?
Yeah. So Jay Robbins played bass on the last record.
Okay.
But just in certain spots, it's not like the whole song or anything, just like to make certain riffs pop,
Yeah.
Certain chord progressions come out. But yeah, live, there's no bass. So, but Adam and I both play through bass amps. So there's 4 amps on stage. Like he's playing through a guitar and a bass amp, and I'm playing through a guitar and a bass amp as well.
Very cool, man.
Yeah. And my bass amp, again, I don't get too attached. It's like an acoustic 6x10 cabinet and this really weird amp called a Casino. bass head that I found at a used music store called Atomic Music. That's in DC, and I got it for like $80, and it's awesome.
Do you know, do you know Dead Meadow?
Yeah.
Jason, I had it because he's from that area. I had him on the show the other day.
Nice.
Yeah. I've listened to them for years, man.
Yeah, man. That's like one of Adam's favorite bands. He loves
I had Dead Meadow on, and then 2 days later I had on, which is just like yesterday, I think I had, or day before. Fuck, man. This is what happens when you're meeting so many people. Isaiah Mitchell from Earthless and Golden Void. They're
cool.
Very, yeah. Very similar genres.
Yeah, I think we met Dead Meadow in an airport one time, like coming home from Germany. I think Adam and we were like leaving Germany the same day that Dead Meadow was, and we kind of bumped into him and had a quick little chat.
Oh, that's cool. He's a very talented guy.
Yeah.
Massive catalog. Nice. Yeah, massive catalog. Hey, man, Desert Island Discs. Top 3 or 4 or 5. What are your top?
Desert Island Discs.
Yeah.
Tough one. Man, I don't know. That's so hard. I want something from like every genre, you know?
Just go with your knee jerk, just for right now. Like I could ask you that question in an hour. You'll have a different answer.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. What have I been listening to right now? Fucking BB King, live from Cook County Jail.
Yep.
That's like one of my favorite go-tos. And that's been like back in the rotation recently. Mars Volta, De Loused in the Comatorium.
Yeah, that's a good band, man.
Dude, they're the best. Yeah.
I have a couple of their records. They're pretty wild.
They're crazy. Yeah, that one's up there right now. What else have I just been like listening to like nonstop lately? Definitely like a Black Keys record. I don't know which one it would be, but it's definitely something from Brothers or earlier.
Yeah, that's a good record.
Maybe Magic Potion. I feel like Magic Potion is the one that I can always go back to and just like love.
It's funny. So you're primarily a blues guy at heart.
Yeah, I do.
That comes down to it.
I love the blues because it's what I could do when I first picked up the guitar.
Sure.
You know, those were like the licks that I could play. I could hear a BB King thing and I could do it. You know, obviously not like as beautifully as he could do it, but I could at least hear that he was only using a few notes.
Yeah.
And just playing them very tastefully. And you know, I could kind of sort through it. So like, yeah, at heart, I do love the blues. I love that, you know, most of those guys both sing and play guitar.
Yeah.
Or, you know, guys and girls both. Like Aretha Franklin was like a monster piano player, right? She's like a killer piano player. So like, I like that you got to do both. I like that you have to be good at both. I think Marcus King is a great example of that. You listen to any of his stuff?
Yeah.
What a beast, man.
Yeah.
Like what a singer and what a player. Like there's a monster. He's killing both of them. Corey Henry, the same thing. He's a keyboardist from Snarky Puppy.
Oh yeah, I've interviewed all their guitar players, man. Those guys that whole band is
nice.
So fucking talented. It's not even funny.
Crazy talent. So Corey Henry has now gone off and he's got a band called Corey Henry and the Apostles. The Funk Apostles. Sorry. And you know, he's an amazing keyboardist and an amazing singer. So I like places where you have to do both. I think that's like always strikes me when someone is really they took the time to practice both.
Well, you appreciate that because you've done that as well. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's not easy when you're good at one thing. That says a lot. But when you're good at two things like that, that's like you got to put a lot of work into that. You know, to be excellent in more than one thing. I try to think of people who can like, I don't know, like who fucking plays like Marcus King and sings like him, you know? Warren Haynes.
Can do both like that?
Warren Haynes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder, right? Like,
yeah, totally.
You start getting really, you got to look high on the ladder. I'll say that.
Oh, very much.
Like,
very much.
Yeah.
Best decision you ever made, Dave?
Playing music. That's it. Picking up sticks for the first time. Not being scared. I was scared to play guitar for a long time because I was freaked out that not only did I have to have rhythm, but I needed melody as well. So like, not only did I have to learn a chord, but then I had to put rhythm to that chord, you know, or learn a note, but then put rhythm to that note. That was like always really scary and weird for me and very intimidating. So just like not being intimidated and not being like you know, I'm going to sound bad. I shouldn't do this. It's going to sound like shit. Like I'm going to embarrass myself or whatever. Just doing it. Just picking up the sticks, picking up the guitar.
Man,
that's it.
I'm sure you have your ups and downs like everybody else, man, but you come across as a real confident guy that like is well thought out and, you know, very mature about things. So, man, keep up whatever you're doing.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah. Or maybe you're just like really good at bullshitting, but it's working.
A little bit of both, yeah.
That's okay, man.
I am a bartender after all.
That's right. You're the best therapist out there, man.
That's it.
Hey, any hobbies or interests outside of music?
I wish I had time for a hobby or interest outside of music, but sure. No, not really. Also, that word scares me a lot.
What,
hobbies.
Music?
Hobby is a scary word because I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
A hobby, people think of music as a hobby, right? Mm-hmm. And there's almost like no worse insult that you could say to a musician who really takes it seriously, you know, than oh yeah, it's like a hobby, like, you know, he plays drums or whatever. It's like, no, this is like my passion in life. You know, this is this thing that I've been pursuing for decades now. Right. And again, this is my own bullshit, you know, but like, if I was taking the time to do a hobby, that's time that I could be practicing. That's time that I could be like, you know, getting better at my instrument or whatever. That's probably not a healthy thought. I should probably like be able to just go fucking do something else sometimes. But, you know,
it's kind of tough at this stage of the game because you're in that, you know, any project you do, it's kind of like getting a plane off the ground. Like you got to work it. And it's a grind at times till you can get enough momentum to get a little lift off. And then once you get that, then you got to keep that shit up there. So you're like kind of in the liftoff phase a little bit with your thing. So I don't think that I think that's what you got to do right now. You know, anybody who's in that liftoff phase, you know, you really don't have time to say, oh, let me take a couple of weeks off and, you know, work on my photography or whatever. You know?
Right.
It's just tough, man.
Yeah.
Hey, two more questions. First, I'm going to ask you, man, what's a good drink that you make? As a bartender, man, tell me something I should drink. I'm not a big drinker, but I'll have a drink at night, you know, on the weekend with my wife.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when I make cocktails at my job, I try to name them after like stoner rock bands.
Awesome, man.
Because people, they don't really know, but they sound really cool. You know?
That is cool.
Like, my last one was called the Mono Lord. You know, I don't know if you know that band Mono Lord.
No,
like a super heavy, awesome band. And then the one before that was called Mars Red Sky.
From Mars Volta.
Red Sky.
Oh, that's another band. Okay.
Yeah. Mars Red Sky is this band from France, and they're killer, super heavy. You
need like the Monster Magnet. That sounds like a good drink.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, the Danzig.
Danzig. So what should I drink, man?
I like making like whiskey drinks. I like making.
I like whiskey. I drink whiskey.
Yeah. I kind of play with like old classic cocktails and then like tweak them a little bit. So like the Mono Lord was like whiskey, this really good sweet vermouth, this Amaro that they make in Baltimore, called Baltimore, and it's like a coffee. Yeah, so it's like a coffee Amaro, and then I put some like black walnut bitters in there, and stir it up and serve it on a big ice cube.
Dude, that's pretty. You could have like a drink menu for the next album. You know, drink. You know, song number one with song number one. You know, like pairings.
Enjoy,
you know?
Like enjoy with. That's not a bad idea.
Like pairings. You know, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's cool. I'll try that.
Yeah. For this track, smoke joint.
Yes, you know, right. Absolutely, man. This goes best with a sativa.
Right.
This is really funny. So I went to California. San Diego a few weeks ago, and I went to a dispensary for research purposes, and I walk in there, and she's like, "What do you want? Do you want a sativa?" And it was like fucking barista of weed, and I'm like, I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
You know, just give me something, and like it whatever you give me, it's going to work just fine. And I'm not going to be saying, "Oh, I should have taken that one." I said, so it was just quite funny. The whole.
That's where we're going, man. It's like fine wine. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, this is going to do this. You order from a menu. You know, you just like when I've been in Amsterdam or Denver or West Coast, anything like that, anywhere where it's legal.
Yeah.
Legal.
Yeah.
I like Denver right now because it's like you have places that are as low key as like a dude with a fold out table and some jars, you know what I'm saying? and like that's the whole shop. And then you have places like as extravagant as a Starbucks, you know, where everything is like
a fucking sommelier in there or something like that.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah. And you know, the last place I went, like, it had all these different little buds, and then behind the buds were like iPads with like digital displays of like, you know, it was like a picture and like a full description, and it was like, you know, learn more here, and all the different like percentages and like the strengths and, you know, all that stuff. I'm into it. I dig it. I like that. That's where we're going. I hope that we see like some full legality in the near future. Baltimore's going that way. We're decriminalized here.
Yeah,
but like if you get caught with it, you can get like a ticket basically. Same, you know, but like you won't go to jail.
Yeah, and I just saw that New York is thinking of doing it. It's just pretty much the same way from like you can't walk around and get busted for weed, which is like crazy that you can do that in some places.
It's pretty cool, actually. Our attorney general, Marilyn Mosby, just announced that she would not be prosecuting any more marijuana cases.
That's great.
She was like, don't even bring them to me. You know, like we got bigger fish to fry.
Right. That's the problem. I mean, you're wasting time on someone with some weed. There's a lot more important shit you could spend resources on, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. We got a lot more problems here in Baltimore than weed.
Just watch The Wired.
Yeah, dude.
Talk about last question, Dave, and I appreciate your time. Talk about a specific experience that changed your life or changed the way you think about things.
It's a tough one. Yeah, I would say just traveling, man. Like traveling is the ultimate tool for gaining perspective, you know? And I got to travel the first time when I was 18. I got to do the Birthright trip where they send you to Israel. Do you know about this trip?
No, I never heard that.
Birthright is a program that sends people to Israel for free for 10 days. They pay for everything. And when I say people, I mean like thousands. They've sent thousands of people. So there's like big money invested in it, I guess. I don't pretend to understand how it works or where they get the money to do this. But that was a big one for me because I was 18, like some pretty formative years, you know? And the whole, like, I grew up Jewish, you know, I'm not religious at all. Mm-hmm. But you know, my family's Jewish, and I got bar mitzvahed when I was 13 and everything. And so I heard about this trip. And for me, you know, I filled out the application. They were like, why do you want to go? And I was like, I just think it would be cool to travel and to see the world. You know, right. I wasn't like, I want to be a better Jew or anything. It was just like, I want to go. And they let me go. And, you know, I learned a lot. I got to meet a ton of different people that live a whole different life than me. You know, when you're 18 in Israel, you are automatically in the army.
In the service.
Years.
Yeah. It's 3 years?
3 years.
Wow. Yeah. I thought it was a year or two. Wow. That's huge.
Yeah. 3 years. And then some people stay, and then other people choose to go to college afterwards or, you know, whatever. But, yeah, 3 years. So you're in the service. So, you know, I'm 18, I'm from America. I could do anything or nothing. And here's some kids that are like literally my age, and like they're in the army. They have no choice.
Yeah.
Like they've known this their whole lives that like this is going to happen. So just gaining all the perspective that comes with traveling, I think is like the most important thing that like anyone can ever do. And this comes obviously with like going on tour as well, you know, going through Europe, going through Germany. I've gotten to see so many places in the last year. In the last, like really the last 5 years, but the last year has been especially crazy. Where I'm talking like Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Sweden, Poland, Czech Republic, France,
That's
Italy,
amazing, man.
London, Australia, you know, like it's wild, man. So to be able to meet all these different people that are living all these different lives, and you see some differences, but like the fact remains that like we are just overwhelmingly similar, no matter where you are or where you're from. That's the one thing that I always take away is everyone is just hustling and trying to make it work, you know, trying to figure out their place here and what's going on. And so, it's a great thing to be able to experience. I think it's got to be the number one thing, man. Just traveling, being able to see the world and meet other people from other walks of life.
Thanks, man. I've heard that same answer very consistently from loads of musicians. So thank you, man. Yeah. It's funny. I'm from New York City, and that's one of the best things I liked about growing up there is there's so many people there somebody from another country, another place, or another accent has never been like foreign to me. It's normal, growing up in New York, which is Baltimore's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Man, let me tell people where to find you musically. It's Dave Cavalier, and the name of the band he's in 2 bands, Black Lung and War on Women. So Black Lung is going to be touring Europe end of April, and War on Women is going to be touring throughout the Northeast and Canada through May 9th through May 19th, and then they are touring Europe May 31st through June 22nd. So if you're in Europe or Canada or the Northeast, check out War on Women upcoming. And in that band, Dave plays drums, and obviously in Black Lung, he's the lead singer and guitarist, rhythm guitarist. Check out the new Black Lung album, Ancients. It's a great record. It's really good. In fact, check out all the Black Lung records, but the last album is particularly amazing, and I think you're going to like it and support them. And that's it, man. Did I miss anything?
That's it, man. You nailed it.
Very cool, man. Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming on the show. I wish you loads of success with both Black Lung and War on Women, and I hope I get to see you, maybe come down in Tampa, and I'll come out to the show, meet you in person. That would be very nice. I'd love to hear you play.
Awesome, man.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, share it with your friend on social media. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to Dave Cavalier for spending time with us. I really appreciate it. Please support his music, War on Women and Black Lung. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.